Good to be with you. Monette, thank you for your comment. Amazing pictures, Father, aren't they? I love that intro. Our technical associate, Rob Collins, put those together. And so many. I love watching that because it fills me with gratitude to the Lord for so many people that He put me in contact with over the years and from whom I learned and who mentored and encouraged me, including John Paul II, Mother Angelica, Mother Teresa, Father Benedict Groeschel, Cardinal O'Connor, and many others. And it really is a sense of obligation that you have, you know, when you've learned from so many people one-on-one and you've gotten their encouragement. You really feel the duty to carry on their legacy, their teaching, and to do the absolute best that you can in advancing the mission to which we're all committed. So that's why we work so hard to bring you the inspiration, the encouragement, the equipment that you need to spiritually and otherwise to do the mission of protecting our youngest brothers and sisters. And that's our mission here. Protecting the children in the womb. That's priority number one. We care about everybody. We're concerned about a wide range of issues, but it is protecting the children in the womb from the violence of abortion, which is our priority. And to continue to strengthen us in that priority, I want to read a reflection from my book, Pro-Life Reflections from Every Day. And it comes from 2 Kings chapter 17. They mutilated their sons and daughters by fire, till the Lord, in his great anger against Israel, put them away out of his sight. Reflection. The people of God inherited the Holy Land according to God's promise, but then they offended him. Therefore the Assyrians swept through the land and brought them into exile. The shedding of innocent blood by child sacrifice was one of the major reasons that this occurred. Let us pray. Lord, you taught your people that their destiny on the land depended upon their fidelity to your covenant. Keep us faithful in our day and free us from the guilt of child sacrifice. Amen. You can get your copy of this book, signed by me, at prolifereflectionsforeveryday.com. It is child sacrifice, brothers and sisters. That's what abortion is. Biblically, spiritually, it's child sacrifice. And that is what brought about the exile. You read it in the chapter we just read from 2 Kings 17. If you go 7 chapters later in 2 Kings 24, you see it again as a cause of the exile of the southern kingdom. There was a northern kingdom exiled in the 722 BC by the Assyrians. And then in the 6th century, in 586 BC, the Babylonians came in and took the people of the southern kingdom into exile. Child sacrifice has deep and terrible consequences, and is having consequences on our nation as well. Many people are rising up, many of you among them, to bring an end to this slaughter by abortion, and that's what we want to encourage each other to help bring to an end. So if you have questions, if you have thoughts about the pro-life movement, you know, come and give us your questions. Maria is asking, do you post these talks on your website? Yes, indeed. endabortion.tv is the website where you can see these very same videos that now you're seeing on Facebook. Of course, they stay on my Facebook page as well, but we do put them on the website, and it's endabortion.tv. And thank you for asking that question, because they are there as a permanent archive, and as you say, you need to take notes. I really want you to take notes, brothers and sisters. If you are listening to my presentations, sometimes I'll go to the whiteboard and we'll put things down, but we give you a lot of information, websites, arguments, facts, and we want you to keep up on top of all that and make notes and pass them along to others. We want to equip you to be able to share these things with others and explain them with others as well. End Abortion Podcast, you see the link there as well. We put these programs out by podcast when I'm giving presentations. And the podcast goes to iTunes, and it goes to iHeartRadio, and it goes to a whole bunch of other podcasting platforms. So that's endabortionpodcast.us is where you will go for that. I want to remind you that the movie Unplanned is going to be coming out. This is about the story of my friend and colleague, Abby Johnson, who came out of the abortion industry. We go back a long time. In fact, her second child is my godson. And we are going to talk tonight here on our broadcast at 9 o'clock. I'm going to talk to you about this movie and some of the dimensions of it, some of the messages that it brings across about abortion, about the abortion industry, and about the pro-life movement. There are a lot of messages contained in this film that we need to think and talk about, and then I'll also continue talking about it tomorrow night. So our 2 evening broadcasts, these 2 nights will be focused on that Unplanned movie, which is based on the book by the same title, to which I wrote the foreword. And we help a lot of people who have come out of the abortion industry and are looking for healing. They have to readjust to a normal lifestyle. They have to shed literally the lies, the layer upon layer of rationalizations that they told themselves in order to do abortions. And but not to get ahead of ourselves, we'll talk a lot about the healing that needs to happen for people like Abby who come out of the abortion industry, people who work there even for a day. You work there just for one day and you are damaged for life. And Winston is asking for prayers. Bless our family, my son's family, heal me and cure me. Yes, we lift up those needs in prayer. Another question, Father, people who live in the state of New York, Vermont, that pass laws that allow infanticide sue their government. Okay, well, that's an interesting question. And the idea of taking legal action against these laws is an idea that is being discussed among pro-life attorneys right now. I can tell you this, that the attorneys within the pro-life movement, and I've spoken to a number of them, they too are our friends and colleagues, are studying that question right now. Before you initiate any kind of legal action against laws like this, obviously you have to do your research. You have to get everything clear in terms of the facts and also the legal arguments, and also, of course, whose rights are being harmed in the process. And so I can tell you the pro-life attorneys are studying that. I can tell you we're in contact with them, and we will certainly update you whenever we have an update in terms of wherever there are pathways and opportunities to challenge these things in court, we will do so. That's what the other side, of course, does all the time when we pass pro-life laws. And remember, these pro-abortion laws, these are the newcomers to the scene. This is not their battleground usually, the pro-abortion side. They don't go to the legislatures to make their case because they know that the legislatures and the people that they represent don't buy into their extreme view of abortion. American people have never been in favor of these extreme abortion policies. So the pro-abortion people, to advance their agenda, where do they go? They go to the courts. They find their friendly liberal judges and they advance their will, impose their will, we should say, through the courts, unelected judges. We, on the other hand, as a pro-life movement, go into the legislatures all the time with great success. You know, at the very same time that New York, Vermont, Rhode Island, Illinois, these other states are having these extreme abortion measures go through their legislature, we have other states, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, passing such strong pro-life measures at the very same time. We see this division continuing and even intensifying, where laws are being passed now that would protect babies from 6 weeks, from 12 weeks, from the detection of a heartbeat, and putting into the constitutions in these states the protection of the unborn. We got the states on the one hand, these liberal pro-abortion states. taking away any protection, not only for the unborn, but for our money from going to the abortion industry, and at the same time some of these other states putting it in their constitution that abortion industry will not be funded. So it really is very strongly polarized, and actually that's good. We need to get people out of the middle. We need people to take sides on this matter because it's serious enough, it's fundamental enough, and as divided as the country may be, let's remember this. It's not the worst thing in the world that the country is divided. What the worst thing is if you're on the wrong side of that division. Don't be on the wrong side of that division. Be on the right side, and eventually the right side will prevail. So this is some of what's going on. We are also preparing, brothers and sisters, for the Day of the Unborn Child, March the 25th, in just under 2 weeks. We are going to have a celebration of the Day of the Unborn Child. And we at Priests for Life, for years and years now, for decades, we've been having people write to us from all over the world saying, March 25th, the church celebrates the Annunciation. Shouldn't this be a day that we observe the unborn in a particular way and put a special emphasis on pro-life? And so we are saying yes. And in many countries, there is actually an official celebration of the Day of the Unborn Child. We'll be giving you a lot more details about that. But the United States, we need to do more in regard to this, and we can do it on a very personal level. Parishes can do it with special masses and or a holy hour or special messages. Individuals and families can do this with special prayers, just in your own way. We'll give you some suggestions, but the Day of the Unborn Child is coming up. Let's make that a special celebration. And then on that day, we will launch, together with about 25 other pro-life groups, a project that we will do for 9 months, from March 25th to December 25th, Christmas Day, the development of a baby in the womb. And we're going to trace the development of the baby in the womb through educational practices and resources that we will distribute to you, to pro-life groups, to churches, and we will trace the facts of fetal development, show you images and videos of the developing baby. This is going to be called Baby Chris, and babychris.org will be the website that you'll be able to follow this project. So we'll be talking with more details about that as well. Stephanie is saying, be strong and lovingly vocal on our Christian values, even if it comes at a sacrifice or loss of people in our lives. God said he came to bring a sword to separate the sheep from the goats. Well, Stephanie, that's very true. We ourselves become strong. We are honest. We speak the truth faithfully. We do it with love. In fact, it's love that motivates us to speak the truth, right? And but as you're saying, sometimes that will come as a sacrifice, because some people will refuse to listen. Some people, it's not because we're doing anything wrong, but some people turn themselves off from the truth, refuse to hear it, react against it, and then that means they end up reacting against us. Those divisions are inevitable. And I'm glad you mentioned about Jesus saying he would bring a sword, and also separating the sheep from the goats, which is what he would say would happen at the end of time when he returns as judge and all the nations are gathered before him. He will sit upon his royal throne, and this is Matthew 25, and he will separate them as a shepherd separates sheep from goats. This is the judgment. A judgment is a division. A judgment is a fork in the road. And you can't go down both roads at the same time. So brothers and sisters, God is a God not only of unity. God does unite us. He wants to unite us. But God is a God of division. He said right from the beginning, right, in Scripture, he said, what does he do at the creation? He separates the light from the darkness, the waters above the heavens from the waters below the heavens. God in creating begins dividing, distinguishing. What does he do through the prophets? What did Elijah say when he brought the people before him? He said, choose today whom you will serve. If the Lord is God, serve him. If Baal is God, then serve him. But stop straddling the fence. That's what Elijah said. He said to the people, how long are you going to hold two opinions at once? You can't. Decide. Choose. The worst thing is not that there's division. The worst thing is being on the wrong side of the division. Choose whom you will serve. And so the prophets insisted that the people be divided. I mean, they would want everybody to be on the right side, but some people are going to choose evil. This is what Jesus reveals, and this is what the beginning of John's gospel. We read, the light came into the world, but here is the judgment, it says. Some people preferred the darkness rather than the light. And so therefore that's the judgment. Jesus said, I have come not to bring peace, but the sword. I will be a source of division. And he even says right in the heart of the family, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be those of his own household. In some ways, this is more true than ever, isn't it? As the battle lines become clearer, the division becomes sharper. This division is everywhere. It's in families, it's in parishes, it's in organizations, it's in the media, it's at the voting booth. But again, the worst thing is not that there's division. The worst thing is being on the wrong side of the division. That's the biggest mistake. This is where Jeremiah comes in his prophecy, where he says that the false prophets go around saying, peace, peace, when there is no peace. Peace, peace, when there is no peace. There is no peace when there's the shedding of innocent blood. There can't be peace then. We take the side of the victims, not of the perpetrators. And peace will be established when there is justice, which means that the rights of everyone are respected and protected. Jimmy is saying, I support an end to abortion, but Trump picture in alignment with him is so wrong. Well, you see, there's another, thank you for your support to end abortion. I know there's a lot of people that oppose abortion, but also are in a different place politically. They may not support the president or the Republican Party and whatnot. The issue itself of being against abortion, which again, I'm so grateful for your commitment and everyone else's commitment to that, is not in and of itself identified with a political party. The issue transcends allegiance to political parties, candidates, office holders, etc. What we're doing, though, at the present time, what we're seeing, and I think you can understand this, that we do have, in fact, with this division that I'm talking about, it expresses itself politically, and we do have, the fact is that the Republican Party has aligned itself and committed itself to the pro-life position. It says clearly in its platform that the unborn child has an inalienable right, and that right is to be protected, even eventually by amending the Constitution in order to do so. Unfortunately, the Democrat Party has aligned itself with exactly the opposite position. You know, it's more extreme than it's ever been if you look at that platform. Not only do they want unrestricted abortion, but they want us to pay for it. They want to take away the provisions in the law that protect your tax dollars and mine from paying for abortion. And it just so happens that President Trump is now the most pro-life president we have had when it comes to protecting the unborn. He has, in fact, done more to advance that cause than any previous president. And that is what motivates us to thank him, to support him, to encourage the party to stay on that track. Because right now, we aren't going to get anything from the Democrat Party. In fact, when you look at these extreme laws, New York and Vermont and Rhode Island and New Mexico and Illinois and other states, when you see the efforts being made to expand abortion and even to remove protection from babies born alive, check out which party is doing this. It's all from the Democrats. It's all from the Democrats. So again, we join hands with people of any political or religious persuasion whatsoever to help save these babies. The political reality, however, at the same time is something that we have to acknowledge. One of you is asking, how do we separate God's laws from man's laws? Well, that's a very important question. And let me delve into that a little bit. Let me just quickly answer George's question also. What are the next pro-life chains across America on sidewalks scheduled for? The images of abortion we hold really impacts hard. Don't they, George? It's true. The images make a big difference. I'm going to talk tonight about the movie Unplanned, right? And it was seeing an abortion that changed the heart of that clinic director, Abby, to come out of the abortion industry. It's seeing abortion that gets so many people involved in the movement and continues to inspire them to fight this evil. As I always say, America will not reject abortion until America sees abortion. In some places, like in my hometown in Portchester, we started a monthly life chain. And certainly all of you, any of you, are free to do that in your own communities too, going out there as often as you can, as often as you want, with your groups to stand there peacefully, prayerfully, holding signs, bringing attention to the problem of abortion. But the annual nationwide life chain is once a year on the first Sunday of October. So that's still a long ways off. You may want to do other things between now and then. And there will be this spring, and especially with the release of this movie and everything that's going on with these extreme abortion laws, there will be more protests against Planned Parenthood. In an organized way, we'll be giving you information on that. The protests. Face the Truth tours is another similar activity where we bring out the images of abortion and stand in an organized way on the sidewalks. Contact our staff. We can give you more information about all this, and we'll send that to you. The other question that had been, Colleen did start a monthly life chain years ago. So worth it. Oh, yes, it is. It's very much worth it. People change. People change right there in the street, right at that moment. A previous question about how do we separate God's laws from man's laws. Well, they're not completely separate, of course, to begin with. Fundamental laws of God that are based in morality have to be reflected in human laws as well. Thou shalt not kill being one of them. Thou shalt not steal. Certain laws that God has put forth are absolutely essential for society to function, and therefore they have to be reflected in human laws as well. The distinctions do start coming in when you get into more and more particulars. Does every law of God have to be reflected in a human law? No, it doesn't. We don't have to have a human law saying that you have to go to church on Sundays or else you'll be fined. We wouldn't be in favor of that. But there is a divine law to worship Him and keep holy the Lord's day. So you see, there are certain things that it's not up to the state to enforce, but it is up to the church to teach and to persuade. And there might be consequences in the church. For example, if you don't worship regularly on Sunday like the divine command requires, well, you've committed a serious sin. And in the Catholic community, we say, well, you got to go to confession before you receive communion. So there's penalties to that, but this is church law. So there's a distinction, church law, civil law. The church and the state have distinct roles. The church doesn't deliver the mail. The church doesn't have a standing army. The church doesn't write laws. At the same time, the state doesn't decide who your pastor is going to be or what readings you're going to hear at Sunday Mass. So there's church laws that govern those things. There's state laws that govern those other things. So there's certainly a division of labor and responsibility that we all acknowledge and can agree on. But the common term between church and state is morality. The protection of life, well, both church law and God's law and man's law say you've got to protect life. And that's why abortion is such a serious problem, because it's man's law departing from God's law, not in a small way, but in a big way. Not in a minor way, but in a major way. Not in an optional way, but in an absolutely essential way that has to be preserved, which is that the law protects life. Cheryl, good question. Father, do you believe the pro-abortion politicians are truly pro-abortion, or are they selfishly being influenced by the contribution from Planned Parenthood? Money talks, unfortunately. Okay. Yes, these pro-abortion Democrat politicians in Congress, you'll watch a hearing, for example. These hearings are broadcast on C-SPAN. If you watch a hearing having anything to do with Planned Parenthood, you can go back some years and see the hearings that were held about Planned Parenthood when the undercover videos came out, a project I was very much involved in. Not a single one of the Democrat members of that committee could say a bad word about Planned Parenthood. Now, I don't want any of you blaming me for talking bad about the Democrat Party. I didn't make this up and I didn't do it. I'm not responsible for it, and I didn't tell them not to say a bad word against Planned Parenthood. They did this. They sat there and they went bent over backwards to defend an organization that routinely breaks the law and kills babies and sells their body parts for profit in violation of federal law. And yet, in the face of all this testimony, they're sitting there and they can't do anything but praise Planned Parenthood, criticize the Republicans, and criticize the pro-life people that brought these horrors to light. What's going on there? Well, some of the members of the committee on the Republican side said what's going on there. They said, some of our colleagues are receiving contributions from Planned Parenthood. Why don't they be honest with us and tell us about this conflict of interest? They're being asked here to investigate an organization that's helping to keep them in office, that's going to give some hefty money to their campaigns. That's what people think about Planned Parenthood. Oh, this is a great women's health organization. It's a political machine. They're raising and spending tens of millions of dollars on elections. I'm not saying people shouldn't be able to support financially the candidates of their choice, the parties of their choice, but be honest about it. Be transparent about it. Make it clear. So yes, I believe that many, see, because I can't, you're asking, are they truly pro-abortion? It's hard to figure out. And when you look at the way that the members of Congress have voted, take this Congress, the previous Congress, and the Congress before that. Okay, so the last 4.5 years. This Congress, the last Congress, the Congress before that. Look at the votes that have taken place in the United States Congress on any abortion-related question. Basically, you're going to see a party line split, with exceptions that you can count on one hand and sometimes one hand and one finger, but that's it. With those numbers of exceptions, you're going to see that the Democrats vote pro-abortion and the Republicans vote pro-life on any of these votes in regard to abortion. Now, you mean to tell me that when somebody puts a D after their name, there's some kind of mental infusion, some kind of conceptual enlightenment that occurs in somewhere in their soul, in their heart, in their brain. Some kind of brain cells mutate, and suddenly they truly and honestly believe that it's okay to kill a baby. And that somehow putting an R in front of your name does the opposite. In other words, the question I'm raising is, does it make any sense that these votes are so split along party lines? Does that reflect the true conviction of these Democrats that it should be okay to kill babies? Well, if they're getting campaign money from the abortion industry, and if the party is telling them they cannot advance up the ladder if they don't embrace the abortion industry's position, then that's not necessarily reflecting their true position, their true moral conviction. We've got to encourage our brothers and sisters to have the freedom. This is one of my key points when we do our voter training, and we talked about this a lot prior to the midterm elections, to have the freedom to embrace moral truth even when it goes against your party loyalties. To have the freedom to recognize that there are certain moral positions that are so fundamental that they have to take precedence over your political commitments. And that's why those who choose to be affiliated with the Democrat Party need to work for change inside of that party, need to speak up. And, sometimes I've got political Democrat loyalists saying to me, "Oh, it's no good. It's not good if you're criticizing the party." And I say, "Well, I'm not a member of the party. If you are, well, why don't you say something? But work for some change within the party. I'm saying something. Where's your voice?" "Oh, but I don't want you criticizing my party." Well, you know what? When's the last time you sat down and looked at an aborted baby? Take a look at what this is, and maybe somehow your tongue will start moving and you'll speak up a little bit. Like Colleen is saying, if Democrats are willing to go along with the anti-life agenda, they have made their choice. That's right. And then when they make their choice, they've got to live with the consequences of it. They got to live with the consequences. One of the consequences is that when the church proclaims that the unborn child has to be protected and that abortion is a basic violation of the moral law, of God's law, of the principles America was founded on, when I as a priest faithfully proclaim that message, when I as a human being faithfully proclaim that message, some people complain that I'm taking a political position. I'm hurting the Democrats. This is a joke, because I proclaim the moral law, you can't kill a baby, and all of a sudden, I'm a political enemy. That can't happen unless a party has become so corrupt, so morally blind, that killing a baby isn't self-evidently wrong to them. You got to be pretty corrupt in your conscience in order to not be able to tell that killing a baby is bad. So I get up and say, don't kill babies, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm being blamed for partisanship. Give me a break. Why don't you wake up and speak up yourselves, those of you that are Democrat loyalists? Now, believe me, the Democrat Party does not represent the grassroots Americans, the Democrats that are out there. I know so many of you are shoulder to shoulder with us in the pro-life cause. You're working, you're praying, you're worshiping, you're fighting, we're protesting, we're praying at the abortion mills. Plenty of people, grassroots Democrats, are doing this because they have common sense. And they have a good moral conviction, and they love America, and they love life, and they love their faith. I know that. I join hands and hearts with you all over the place. It's these elites, it's these bureaucrats, it's these politicians, it's these leaders in the party that have completely divorced themselves from common sense, and they're in bed with the abortion industry, and they're getting blood money from Planned Parenthood, and they can't say a bad word about abortion. They have to be driven out of office. Because, brothers and sisters, They're absolutely leading this country down the wrong path, into barbarism. Look at these laws that are taking place. My goodness, they're removing protection, not only from babies in the latest stages of pregnancy, they're removing protection from babies that are born alive. Grandma NYCA, we as a nation have to reawaken our God-given conscience. Absolutely. Our Declaration of Independence talks about God as the source of our rights. So we have our conscience. It talks about self-evident truths. Self-evident means you don't have to argue to get to the conclusion. You don't have to have a syllogism. You don't have to have an argument. You don't have to have a debate. Self-evident means that when you say it, you realize it's true. And that when you have a functioning conscience, when and if you have a functioning conscience, as most Americans still do, I'm convinced, then you see that truth for what it is. Well, we've got some, unfortunately, in leadership positions, Democrat leaders, listen to what I'm saying, who are absolutely divorced from any kind of moral common sense. They absolutely lost it. Absolutely. Colleen says, if they won't stand for life because they're afraid of not being reelected, they are not really pro-life. To be pro-life, you have to be consistent, you have to be vocal, you have to be putting that on a higher level of priority than your own political power. What a shameful thing it is to say, I would rather have political power than protect babies. And yet that's exactly what some of them are saying. Some oppose abortion, but at odds with the president on immigration. They don't see the gravity of abortion. Yes, I agree with you about that. There's a very big difference between these two issues, brothers and sisters. Very big difference. Killing a baby, on the one hand, is what these Democrats are standing for, killing a baby. And then the disagreement about how people should enter the country, not whether they should enter the country. The president has made it very crystal clear. He wants people from other countries to be able to enter our country. How many times has he said it? For the last 3 years, he's been saying it constantly. I want people coming into our country. The greatness of America rests on immigrants. But they have to come in legally. Hey, friends, the Catechism itself says that. The president is reflecting Catholic teaching. The Catechism doesn't say, the Catechism does not have a position of open borders. It does not. Section 2241 of the Catholic Catechism. It's not about open borders. Catholic Catechism does not say, oh, if somebody comes to the border, let them across. You know what it says? Number one, countries have a right to their own security and to passing laws that regulate how to enforce that security. And it also says not only that the country has the right and responsibility to protect itself, and that means having clear borders, but it also says to those who want to come into the country, you have to respect the laws of the country you're trying to enter. Now, I don't know why that isn't clear. It's pretty clear to me. I think it's pretty clear to most of you that those who want to enter a country have to respect not only the laws, but the traditions and the culture of the country that they're trying to enter. And if someone comes here not respecting that, if someone tries to get into this country but hates this country, if someone tries to come into this country with the intention of doing harm to its citizens, if someone comes here and has absolutely no respect for the peace and harmony and safety that we want our families to live in this country, well, then I say exactly what the president says, get out. And we're not going to let you in. If you're coming in to destroy, if you're coming in to disrespect, if you hate America, guess what? There's a lot of other countries that you can belong to. Get out of here. On the other hand, if you have respect, if you're coming here because you love this country and the principles that it stands for, we will help you. It's a process. It may take patience and time to go through, but we welcome you and embrace you. And we know that you will enrich our country. So we welcome you. Two above none, welcome. Thank you for following. Great to have you with us here this morning. And friends, you've been asking a lot of very good questions, making a lot of very good comments. And I ask you to join me tonight at 9 o'clock when I'm going to be talking about the movie Unplanned. I'll be talking about my role in that whole story of Abby Johnson coming out of the pro-life movement. And Maria is asking, where again do you find that? 2241, Catholic Catechism, number 2241. But I'll be talking about tonight that movie Unplanned and the story behind it, and also how we have to help people who are going to see this movie, and they're going to be confronted with, in many cases, their own participation in abortion. We want to help them find the healing, the grace, the peace that they so long for and deserve, that the Lord wants to give them. So let me give you a blessing. May the Lord bless and protect you, answer all your prayers, keep you safe, and strengthen you in your mission to give witness to his kingdom, and especially to advance the protection of our youngest and smallest brothers and sisters, the children in the womb. And may he bless you all, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father Frank Pavone here of Priests for Life. Talk to you tonight.
Hello, I'm Evangelist Alveda King. I'm blessed to work with Priests for Life, one of the largest and most visible pro-life ministries in the world. Our whole team relies on your financial support to be able to do our work, produce our programs, and travel the world to advocate for the unborn. May I ask you to support us generously? Go today to prolifedonation.org and give as generous a gift as you can. We appreciate it, and we'll pray for you each day.
But you know what? When you and I take up this call and we talk about abortion, if we speak about it in church, we're told we're too political. If we speak about it in the political arena, we're told we're too religious. If we speak about it in the world of the media, it's too disturbing. In the world of business, it's too distracting. In the world of education, it's too controversial. In the streets, it's too disruptive. So abortion, if abortion is wrong, where do we go to say so? We go into the churches, we go into politics, into the media, into business, into education, and into the streets. Some churches haven't wanted to get involved in political hassles with the government, so they've been silent on abortion. They didn't want to get involved in hassles from the government. They didn't want to take the fight to the government. So now with the HHS mandate, the government took the fight to them. And when it comes to that mandate, we've got a simple message. We will obey God rather than them. As Alveda can tell us, her uncle said one day to the civil rights movement, we've got a lot of obstacles in our way, but we're not going to let anything turn us around. We're not going to let no dogs turn us around, no water hoses turn us around, no police clubs or jail sentences, and we're not going to let any injunctions turn us around. And so today I say to you, in the pro-life movement, no Planned Parenthood is going to turn us around. No biased media is going to turn us around. No HHS mandate is going to turn us around. No